Thank you for joining this webinar hosted by the NPCC. I am pleased to pass on to our Executive Director, Mr. Ashit Kumar Ganga, for a short welcome. Mr. Ganga was formerly Minister of Industry, Commerce and Consumer Protection from 2014 to November 2019. And apart from his political career, Mr. Ganga managed a manufacturing company and is very knowledgeable about productivity and quality concepts. He joined the NPCC in January this year. So Mr. Ganga, please.
Thank you, Françoise. Let me first of all welcome all the participants to this webinar on SMEs need to go digital. My special thanks goes to Mr. Kelvin Chan. This morning itself, I was talking to Dave, and he was telling me how the BCPP and the ACPP training that you conducted for Africa has helped the NPCC to start its training and consultancy services. Kelvin, you're giving us your precious time during this crisis period. You are sharing your wide experience on such a burning subject, which has been on the agenda of businesses of all sizes for a while, but has in many cases been postponed to be addressed eventually. As goes the saying, adversity is the mother of innovation. We have witnessed that during the long confinement period, businesses have adjusted their strategies to adapt to the rapid change in consumer behavior. Digital shopping, contactless payments, mobile banking, delivery applications have all become essential solutions for mitigating risk associated with contagion as it eliminates face-to-face contact. As entrepreneurs and individuals manage the drastic measures taken by government to prevent the virus transmission, new ways of operating are coming to light. These are already crafting a digital roadmap for many organizations. Indeed, this speedy change in digital processes has sparked a new paradigm with an openness to adopt new technology. Adapting to remote working has made teams more versatile and move from the status quo mentality to the let's try and see if it works approach. Even though we have so far successfully responded to the challenges of COVID-19, a holistic and sustainable digitalization strategy will be a sine qua non for success during the recovery phase. The lessons learned will be the stepping stone to prepare for the future. This is where this webinar has all its raison d'être today. I believe it is a golden opportunity for them to rethink and accelerate their digitization strategy to increase resilience and optimize business processes with a view to improve customer experience. I once more thank you, Kelvin, for hosting this webinar to encourage our SMEs to go digital, and the floor is now yours, Kelvin.
Thank you, Mr. Ganga. Thank you.
Yes, Kelvin, let me just very quickly tell the audience who you are. So as the director mentioned, we all at NPCC know you very well because we consider you as our mentor, because it is with you that we learn a lot of things about productivity and quality. And you also served organizations like Apple Computers, Petronas Group of companies in Malaysia, and many SMEs in Asia and South Africa. Really, Kelvin, thank you very much for being with us this morning. So I kickstarted immediately. So why do SMEs need to go digital, Kelvin Chan?
Thank you, François. So it is my honor to be here to conduct this talk for my friends in Mauritius. So good morning to all of you. So it is actually in the afternoon in Singapore. We have a 4 hours difference. So for today, I will try to share with you what is happening in my part of the world. Right. So this is about my profile, and so the agenda for today, right? I will first touch on the global trends that drive this future of SMEs. Actually, there's not many choices that the SME has other than going digital. So if you can see the trends in the world, right, you'll realize that, yes, you must go digital. And also I will be touching on digitalization, right, and help you to improve productivity. So that is the incentive of going digital. And the last part I will cover is how can SME start their digitalization journey, right, based on the experience of some of the SMEs in Singapore. So first, the global trends that drive the future of SMEs. So the cost of technology, right? Cost of and trends of technology is one factor. So technology has become cheaper and cheaper. So it becomes more affordable for most SMEs and countries and companies. And the other factor is the Industry 4.0, right? And the Industry 4.0 actually is happening all over the world, right? People are progressing into the Industry 4.0 economy, and there's a global concerns that SMEs are being left behind. And SME forms the backbone of many modern economies, and usually in most countries they account for about 90% of all businesses and hiring more than 50% of employment. And the third factor that it affects that drive the future of SME is actually the future of jobs. So as the economy move over to Industry 4.0, the jobs actually changes, right? I will share with you some of the studies conducted by the World Economic Forum. And the last one is actually the governments themselves are driving digitalization, right? According to Mr. Gonga, right, that Mauritius is also driving digitalization. Likewise, in Singapore, our government is fully supportive of people going digital. Okay, the trends of key costs and trends of key technology. If you look at here, right, the connection to the internet actually is increasing as an alarming rate. So in 2016, there's 8 billion devices connected to the internet. By the 2020, right, the World Economic Forum estimated that there will be 1 trillion devices. So where does this difference comes from? It comes from maybe a person having more devices or a company having a lot of devices being connected to the internet, right, to drive their work, right, to perform things that they want to do. And the key technological trends identified are the Internet of Me, right? It is about personalizing the internet. So I'm sure if you visit websites, right, very frequently, the intelligent system behind the scene will pick up your needs. And suddenly on your Facebook, there is a lot of display of advertisements or messages related to the areas of your interest. So this is somehow happening right now, right? And also the outcome-based economy. So more and more people are looking at issuing contracts based on outcome. For example, in Singapore, we have cleaning contracts that are actually based on outcome, and not so much of you must send how many workers, right, at what time to do the cleaning and so on. So it is actually converted to an outcome-based kind of contract. So another illustration is also the sale of tires. So a lot of companies are actually buying mileage in terms of the number of kilometers per tire, right, instead of buying the tires. And the platform revolution, platforms like the eBay, Alibaba, right, is taking over a lot of businesses in Singapore, in all over the world, especially the retail businesses. And there's also a shift towards the intelligent enterprise, where companies actually tap on the big data and convert them into smart data so that they can actually improve their customer engagement, their processes, and so on. And the next trend is actually workforce reimagine. What it means is that the workforce of the future will need to work with robots. They will need to work with technology, gadgets, and equipment. So you can see that this trend is actually based on technology. It's driving the economy, right, towards the future. So at the illustration below, you can see that the cost of technology has declined. Okay, the cost of drone in 2007 is $100,000, but as of 2013, it is $700. So the price has dived tremendously, and for 3D printing, right, the price has gone down from 40,000 to just a mere $100. Likewise, industrial robots also has come down from 550,000 to 20,000, right? So you can see that this trend of like the DNA sequencing the price has also gone down tremendously. Solar power cost per kilometer, per kilowatt hour, it has come down to 16 cents per kilowatt hours in 2014, right? Sensors, they have come down, and sensors are important, right, for IoT, Internet of Things, right? Especially in the Industry 4.0, right, where they need to control machines. So sensors are needed. And the last one is actually the cost of smartphones, right, and so on. It has dived. So the thing is that all the cost of technology has become so low that it is affordable by many people, right, by many SMEs and right, by many companies. So the Industry 4.0, we are now in the fourth stage where we look at the cyber physical system. That means we are connecting all the equipment, right, to the cyberspace. Right? So Internet of Things will come in, digital technologies will come in. So we are moved actually away from computers and automation. So this is basic, right? You are expected to have to operate a business, but of course, this side, it is the future. And I have put together, right, this diagram that I took from the PwC publication, right? And so this illustration actually shows the various the digital technology, right, that are being promoted, right, in the Industry 4.0 framework. So you can see that IoT platform, mobile devices, they are very common, and advanced human-machine interfaces, AI, all these are coming into the picture. In fact, the Singapore government is promoting a lot on artificial intelligence, and there are a lot of funding programs provided by the government of Singapore for companies implementing AI. And like all this authentication, fraud detection, so this is also important because there's a lot of scams and also hacking in the digital world, right? And 3D printing, right? 3D printing, it is now being applied to construction sector. So they are using it to print toilets. In China, they use it to print homes, bridges, and so on. So these are the latest technology that's coming in into the Industry 4.0 economy. And big data analytics is also one big area, right? And also we have things like augmented reality where they put on a goggle, right? And they can do a lot of work, right, with that. So you can see that the economy is changing, and we have to actually learn how to use this new technology. And the jobs in the Industry 4.0 economy will be also changed, right? So I got this from the Future of Jobs Report 2018 by the World Economic Forum. So you can see that they list out what are the stable jobs over here. And these are the new jobs, right, that is expected in the Industry 4.0 economy. if you take a look at all these jobs, most of them are actually digital in nature. So it is either a digital native or a non-digital native. That means non-digital native, you have to learn how to use the applications. So you can see most of the jobs will be in this area. And what goes redundant is things like accounting, bookkeeping. Right now, accounting is already happening in Singapore. They have introduced this technology called robotic process automation. So that is where you can just take a snapshot of the invoices, you email to a specific account, and the robot will actually screen through the emails and pick up all these invoices from the emails directly and enter into the accounting system. So you can see that bookkeeping is no longer required. Bookkeeping is no longer required. Right, these are the other jobs that will go obsolete. But of course, you can see this little asterisk sign over here. So this asterisk sign indicates that this particular job happens in all three parts of this table. What it means is that it may be obsolete in some industry, but it may be in a demand in another new industry. Okay, let me move on to the next one. Okay, I have summarized the skill set needed by 2020. So the most important thing is the technology skills and also the digital skills. However, right, the human skills are also needed. Things like creativity, originality, right, initiative, critical thinking, negotiations, complex problem solving that machines cannot do, right? Emotional intelligence that the machine can't handle, and also things like leadership, right? Social influence and social orientation. So you can see that the skill set for the future is different. So they may no longer require bookkeeping skills and so on. So what does this imply, right? The workforce of the future will be trained in all these areas. Okay, and if you are operating in the old system, you may not be able to find the skill set that is required, right, with your old economy kind of jobs. Okay, and government incentive, right? I would like to illustrate using the ASEAN 6. So a survey done by this group of people, right? The UOB is a bank in Singapore, and the other two are the consulting firms. And what they found is that the governments of the 6 countries, which include Indonesia, Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, Philippines, and Vietnam, right? So they have quite a similar kind of strategy, right, adopted by the government to be pro-business. So the first one is actually to create a suitable business environment, right? So to the extent of changing legal frameworks, right, and also to instill good governance in corporations. And the second one is actually to develop the capacity and infrastructure within the emerging market, right? So for example, Singapore is embarking on the 5G network right now. So to prepare for the future so that our corporations can actually tap upon the new technology, right, of using the IoT being connected to the digital network. And assist in capital funding, right, technical support and creative support. There's a lot of funding, right, in the ASEAN countries for SMEs implementing digital technologies. And guide IT and digital innovation. So in Singapore, we have the IMDA, which is actually set up to focus on promoting digitalization in Singapore, right? So they will drive the adoption of digital technologies and also support manpower and talent management. So the digital technology and manpower goes hand in hand. So you need people to run the digital technology. So training of the manpower is important. There are 4 steps for long-term success for SME as recommended by Keith, right, in one of his publications with the World Economic Forum. I think these are very good strategies which you can consider to adopt. Attract the right talent and put the employees in a position to succeed. Right, so you have to hire the right person and also to motivate them, right, to succeed so that the organization can succeed. And to create agility through horizontal management. So what it means is that for SMEs, right, you need to do collaboration. You can't do everything yourself, right? You need to collaborate horizontally, right, to get your products or services on stream, right? 3, harness the potential of the latest digital technology. So again, right, we talk about using the latest digital technology. And the last part is also quite interesting, to be part of a value chain, right, relevant and adjacent to stakeholders. I think these are all very useful strategy. For this talk, I am focusing on the digital technology. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. Okay, in Singapore, right, the Singapore Business Federation, they conducted the National Business Survey, right, in 2018, 2019. Right, they found that the top priority for Singapore businesses is actually innovation. And many companies believe that innovation can improve their productivity. Okay, the survey is on 800 businesses. So we have large companies over here, and we have SMEs over here. So this is the sample size, 84 large company and 621 SMEs. So you can see that the question is that how would you describe the extent to which your own company has implemented these business innovations to a scale of 1:10? Okay, the orange one indicate that it is very high. The respondents thinks that it is high. This is medium, and this is low. So you can see that about 55% of the SME, right, say put medium and high and above, right? So the business, right, it is vital to innovate for the business to be successful. Okay, and what aspects where the companies identify innovation as playing a critical role? So there are 4 areas. One is the customer experience, which 88% of the respondents say yes. And the other one is actually operational processes, right? And we have a business model, right? And products and services. All 4, right, scored above 50%. So these are the 4 areas that most of the companies here, right, in Singapore look at and they innovate, right? The innovation in Singapore is mainly digitalization and also buying of new technology. So what are some of the innovation challenges identified is the cost of technology. For SME, right, 59% of the respondents say yes. Availability of manpower, right, with technological expertise, right, 41% say yes from the SME. Retraining of the worker to develop their digital capability, right, 28% say yes, it is a challenge. So let's move on and let's take a look a broader perspective, right? We look at ASEAN, the ASEAN 6 that I mentioned earlier. So what are the strategies that they adopt, right, to differentiate themselves from their competitors? So you can see this part here is they scored 60%. and this is 40 over to 30%. So what is this score that is above 60%? Focus on improving customer service, right? I think this this one actually brings back the same importance, right, as in the previous survey conducted in Singapore. Extend the range of products and services, right, and adopt a digital marketing strategy. So the rest of it, right, these are all traditional methods of promotion, right, revamping business model, expand overseas and so on. So it's got below 50%. So you can see that I think innovating, right, in the and by applying digitalization, right, and also new technology is important as perceived by businesses in Singapore and also in ASEAN. And this is a survey, right, that is conducted by the Ministry of Trade and Industry in Singapore in 2019, based on data varies from 2012 to 2016. So you can see that the usage of basic digital tools in Singapore is quite high. It is quite high, so above 80%, right? And in terms of digital platform, e-payment, it is also quite high. E-commerce, maybe 20%, right? Software as a service, right? It is about 50%. So companies are actually using software to provide services. For example, cloud accounting, right? The robotic process automation that I talked to you about. So they're actually using cloud accounting systems. And how about the advanced digital technologies, right? So IoT is about 25%. AI is low, maybe 5%. Data analytics actually about 30%. So this statistics actually is as of 2016. I believe by 2020, these figures are higher. These figures are higher. Okay, the steps for digitalization. I have assembled these 4 steps, and it is quite close to our national recommendations. So first, you do a self-assessment, right, on the state of digitalization. Do a stock take of your operations. How far are you into digitalization? Thereafter, right, you develop a roadmap of digitalization. So you implement the digital solutions in module, right, chunk by chunk, right? And thereafter, you also need to look at developing the needed digital skills so that you can become a digital economy ready. Okay. Over here, right, I have assembled a self-assessment checklist. What I would like you to do is to run through the checklist and see whether are your operations digitalized. So Shalini has helped me to prepare a poll sheet. So maybe you can answer the poll sheet, right? And then let's check the state of the digitalization among the participants of this talk. I'll let you have some time, say 5 minutes for this. Okay, the results are out, and so HR we have 29%, customer relations 30%, accounts 54%, inventory, right, 27, fleet management 10, right, sales management 37%, workforce management 17, okay, manufacturing system 8%. Okay, integrated point of sales, so this applies to retail, so 16%. Web presence, we have a good 61%, that's good. E-marketing, 29%, e-commerce, 12, e-payment, 22, right? Mobile-enabled payment, 3%. Mobile-enabled payment, right? It is almost above 90% in China. I went to my mother's hometown in China, southern China, and I went to the wet market. The wet market has all the vegetables lying around on the benches, just a half a meter above the floor, and a lot of them have a QR code payment system, so they are paying using WeChat. In a way, right, as a foreigner, when I go there, I do not have a WeChat payment platform. So I look very primitive in China. Okay, so this is about self-assessment checklist. I hope that you find it useful. Like whatever you are weak at in certain areas, it is an opportunity for improvement. Here, right, I have actually extracted this from our national program. So this is the recommended digitalization roadmap for this for retail. Let me see. So it's actually for, let me see, is it retail F&B or F&B? It's for F&B sector. So you can see that this they recommend it in stages, 3 stages altogether, or getting ready. So these are all the basic, right? All the basic digitalization modules that you should have, right? And also the stage 2 will be a little bit more advanced, right? The data analytics, right? IoT, enabled central kitchens and so on. And of course, stage 3, right, is leaping ahead, right? So we have sensing video. I mean, the video that sense the behavior of customers, predictive ordering system using AI and so on. So again, right, what you can do is that you can prepare your own digitalization roadmap, and you identify where your weaknesses are and what are the components that you would like to be digitalized. And of course, then after that, you organize them into different stages of automation. And what I would advise is that you must consider integration of all your digitalization modules, because otherwise in future you have problems dealing with a separate module, operating in a silo manner and so on. So this actually is one of the problems of the digitalization process. And the challenges, right, I have picked up from another survey done by the Singapore Chinese Chamber of Commerce and Industry, right? So they conducted this survey in 2019, and these are the various challenges. Cost is too high, yes, it's high, but then in Singapore, there is a subsidy by the government of Singapore. So that will actually help solve the problem. Right? Current businesses are too complex to digitalize. So again, right, maybe you can hire professionals in to help you in the digitalization process. So there are others like lack of resources, the impact of digitalization, competing interests with the current business, right? So we are referring to if you have a brick and mortar retail shop and you set up an online shop, so it's competing with current business. So I think this is a small problem, right? You can do an integration of the brick and mortar and digitalized workplace. And you need an OMI platform to do that, so that digital marketing and the physical marketing are integrated. Difficulties in finding the right vendors, okay, uncertain about which areas to digitalize. Again, you can consult professionals about this. Uncertain about the outcome of digital technology. So that part, I think the professionals can advise whether, and you can look at maybe others who have implemented and to see their performance before and after implementation. Okay, lack of management support. So this is the digitalization challenges. Okay, I personally believe COVID-19 facilitates faster adoption of digital technology. For example, right, this Zoom talk happened in the COVID-19 period. So without COVID-19, we may not have thought of having a Zoom to get a speaker from Singapore, 4 hours away, right, differences, and to speak to you in Mauritius. So you have to thank COVID-19 for this, right? And in Singapore, right, we introduced the robotics, right, to replace some of the jobs. So for example, right, let me play this video. So this is a distancing, social distancing promotion robot. It is actually placed in one of the parks in Singapore. I don't know whether you can hear the voice that it emits in the video.
Let's keep Singapore healthy. For your own safety and for those around you, please stand at least 1 meter apart. Thank you.
So the robot actually emits this 1 meter apart message to people. So I think this is a good way where technology is being used. Okay, we are now, I have completed my talk. We are now open for questions and answers. So if you have questions, can you put it into the chat area, and François will help you to ask the question.
Yes. Thank you, Kelvin. In fact, we've got a few questions for you, so I will start shooting at you now. For an SMEs, there are many questions about they want to go digital as SMEs, but they do not have the required skills to do it. So is there a platform to train SMEs? Maybe you won't know for Mauritius, but maybe you can tell us how it's being done in Singapore.
In Singapore, we have a lot of digitalization program, a lot of courses. So we have courses to train digital native people. Digital native people means that they are IT experts, digitalization experts. We train them to be engineers, we train them to be consultants, right? So there are very elaborate courses on that. So we also have courses on application of digital technology, and they are all funded at a very high level by the government. So the funding is between 80 to 95%. It depends on the age and the age group, and also the earnings and so on. So if you earn below $2,000, the funding will be 95%. If you are above 40, the funding will be around 80%. So the thing is that don't think of digital technology as a big chunk, right? Try to size it up into different modules, right? So for example, I would like to introduce customer relations management. Right? Just look at customer relations management and train your relevant staff, right, on this particular module. So you do it step by step, right? I hope that answers the question.
Yes. There's also questions about frameworks. I mean, is there any framework that have been adopted by Singapore to help SMEs to implement this digitalization?
The framework that I showed here, let me see. Yeah, this is the roadmap for F&B. We do have, but we do not have for all the industry. So I think we are still developing the digital roadmaps all other industries is in the progress.
Yes, there's also a question from somebody in the service sector who is in fact a dietitian who gives consultation and diets to the clients, to his or her clients. So that person is asking how to map a proper roadmap when you are in the service sector. Can that be done when you're providing a service?
Well, it can be done. For example, right, you see, not all roadmaps are available. If it's not available, it doesn't mean that that's the end of everything. You can actually develop your own roadmap by adapting, right, from other sectors. For example, if you are saying that you are providing professional services, maybe you can have, for example, right, I use this as an illustration, digital online ordering of your service. So you can sell your service online, they can book online, they can make a payment online. Then you can have a CRM, right, to manage the customers who has just signed up or existing pool of customers to sell them new services and so on. So you can have an automated reservation system online. Go on Crowd so that you don't have to worry about managing the server 24/7, right? So these are the things that you can do. Although this is actually for F&B, but it can be adapted to any other industry, I believe so. All you need to do is you just need to look at your processes, right, and look around for providers, right, of digital solutions. And if you are not sure, you contact a professional to help you to do so. So this is how Singapore does it, and there is a very big pool of digital advisors in Singapore.
In Singapore, there is a question related to what you're saying, Kelvin, about how to find low-cost technology. Can we say that low-cost technology can be used by SMEs? How far is it relevant for SMEs, or is it more a barrier to them to really achieve what they want to achieve with digitalization?
Personally, I believe in low-cost technology. There are alternatives. For example, right, I was running a non-profit organization, a charity training institution. In fact, Salesforce offered us 10 free license to use the Salesforce, but the cost of implementation is $5,000. So as a charity, we don't have that $5,000 budget. So we decided not to use it. And then we look for an open source kind of platform to help us do it. So I'm sure that there's a lot of alternative, right? Even like, for example, you think that the Microsoft Office is expensive, you can use OpenOffice, it's free, right? So there are free options, but of course the free platform, right, or the cheaper platform may not give you the full function of an expensive platform. So if you're able to live with that, I think that is fine. I think when you are looking for free resources, bear in mind that cybersecurity is also another factor. In some countries, right, the Personal Data Protection Act is very strong. If your data on your server or on your cloud is being hacked, you might get into trouble. So this is one factor that you have to consider. So cybersecurity, I think in my earlier slide, I list down cybersecurity. So it is also an important area. So the answer is yes, there is alternative.
We have also some viewers from the education sector here, attending this webinar. And one question is about how disruptive will digitalization be for the education sector? Can you enlighten us a little bit about that?
Okay. I happen to teach part-time in a university, so I hope I can answer this question. So the education sector has been moving online, right? And of course, in my university that I teach, which is called the Singapore University of Social Science, we are debating whether to have it face-to-face or go online. So there are two schools of thought. Some feel that face-to-face is better. Some feel that online is better. But in the COVID-19 era, everything is online, right? And I just attended a program, a 3-day program. It's all done online. It's all done online. And of course, when it's done online, the delivery is different. You can't speak to the participants and then you tell them, okay, let's form into your group, use a flip chart to do it. So you can't do that, right? So you have to maybe use technology like Zoom, right? Zoom has actually a breakout room, right, where you can break up the students into different rooms, and then they can do the discussions. So as an instructor or lecturer, you can hop from room to room to supervise them. And there is also platforms where they can present, right, the outcome, right, of the discussions and so on. So there are a lot of education applications that can help you to go digital. And I believe the digitalization in the education sector is coming. So whether you like it or not, a lot of universities are using it. And I have seen one of the institution, INSEAD, right, worldwide, that's based in France. So what they did was they organized a course on, I think, I can't remember the course, on entrepreneurship or something. And there were about 250 students. 250 students, and each student pay about 2,000 Singapore dollars. So that makes a lot of money. But however, they are able to use a platform to engage the students, and I think education sector can also start to consider using digital technology.
There's also a question from one of our viewers about the challenges of conducting training online, in line with what we're talking about education. So what are the challenges, and eventually are there pitfalls, and how to avoid the pitfalls of training online, of online training?
The training online talks about using technology, right? And you have to be familiar with technology. And of course, in terms of engagement with participants, it's different. For example, right, there are 146 of you now online. Right, if I'm given this avenue to see all your faces, then I have to observe your reaction, your body language, right, to tell whether you have been engaged, or are you still with me, or are you already away from the course? So the challenge is to engage the people. I have been doing online training for, I think, 5 years. Sometimes I find it challenging, but however, if you start to learn the process of managing, for example, using the Zoom, right, to create a lot of activities for the participants to interact with each other, and you yourself interacting with them, I think it should not be a challenge for instructors. In fact, if you ask me now, I find that teaching online is more interesting than face-to-face. I hope I've answered your question. Yeah.
Yes. There's also another question from one of our SMEs stating that they need support. I mean, that was clear from the very beginning. They need support. And then once they are in line with it, the person can invest to improve or grow to become more professional. but the support is really needed, is really asked. So let's say we are an SME. Today we say we want to digitalize our operations, as you mentioned. So what should that SME look for? I mean, looking around, where is the starting point for that SME?
So the starting point is actually you do your assessment of your current operations. I think a simple assessment you can use is a self-assessment checklist, or you can even do a diagnosis of your operations. You can bring in a consultant to diagnose your operations, to identify what are your weak areas. And then from your weak areas, you can find whether or not there is digital solutions, right, that can address those weak areas. And then from there, you can actually develop a roadmap. So it is actually quite not that difficult if you follow these 4 steps. Do a self-assessment, right, and that can be done in different levels. Simple self-assessment checklist, or you can list down what are your problem areas, right, and thereafter you see whether a digital solution is available, right. When it's available, you can come up with a roadmap. And usually, if you approach service providers for softwares, systems, and so on, they are able to advise you what can the software do, what can it, how can it resolve some of the problems. But of course, this will bring to the level of whether I should get somebody to customize everything to my operations. That will be expensive. Or can I accommodate the standard package by adjusting some of my processes to be in line with the standard package? Right. Then if you use a standard software package, it will be cheaper. Yeah.
There's one specific question about something you mentioned in your presentation about the horizontal management. Can you elaborate more on it?
So the horizontal management refers to collaboration with your competitors, right? And also because there may be competitors or not exactly competitors, but the competitors look at other areas and so on. So it talks about collaborations. So I think we can use it quite flexibly. We can collaborate with our competitors. Like for me, I do collaborate with my fellow consultants, like who specialize in other areas or who specialize in the same area. So we do collaborate together to take on projects together. Or you can collaborate up and downstream, right? Up and downstream. So I think the 4th point that was mentioned earlier is to be attached to a supply chain. So if it's an up and downstream, it will be a supply chain to be linked back to a supply chain, so that when anyone in the supply chain gets the job, you also get the job. So that is actually a very good business effect on this.
Kevin, maybe our viewers don't know, but you've been to Mauritius, I think, a few times now. So you know a little bit about the companies in Mauritius. I mean, your opinion about how easily or how do you think Mauritian companies will be able to embark on this journey to digitalization?
I think Mauritius, if I can remember, right, I have friends who are involved in Mauritian company before. Maybe that's about 20, 30 years ago, right? I think companies in Mauritius, many of them are very resourceful. They are able to tap on the services, right, to improve the operations from all over the world. So right now, I think with the era of the internet, right, and the boom in the Zoom kind of platform, right, we have a meeting to go, Zoom, the Microsoft systems and so on. So I don't think it is that much of a challenge, right, even for an SME in Mauritius. You can actually hire a consultant from Singapore, right, at a very low cost, for example, right, using the modern technology of Zooming for consultation each time. I don't think it is a challenge. And Mauritius is just like Singapore. In Singapore, we have advanced company. We have also very small SME. Some of them are also maybe at the same level as a lot of companies in Mauritius. So there's not much difference. So the question is, maybe I would think is the thoughts of the management, of course the CEO, whether or not he would like to introduce digitalization. So I think the first person to convince is the boss of SME, him or herself. So they must see that digitalization will benefit. But I'm sure you would think that digitalization will benefit in the delivery of this talk. Without digitalization, I won't be able to speak to so many of you. Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Kelvin. I think we reached the end of this webinar. It's almost after 11, 8 minutes after 11. So we hope our SMEs particularly will now feel a bit more confident to embark on this bandwagon of technology, of digitalization. Thank you, dear viewers, for having tuned in this session. And thank you, Shalini Matavan, for orchestrating everything behind the scene. And our next webinar will be next Tuesday on the 19th with Jayant Murthy, Managing Director of the Kaizen Institute, South Asia and Africa, on how to build the immunity of your business post-COVID. Join us at 10 a.m. next Tuesday. Thank you very much, Kelvin Chan. Stay safe in Singapore.